Good afternoon, my name is Vincent Majgavanu and I welcome you this afternoon to my presentation on the approaches and techniques which are used in project management. First of all, I would like to define what a project is, and according to the Association of Project Management, they define a project as a complex, unique venture with interconnected activities which have got a specific goal and which needs to be completed within a specific time and a specific budget and according to the project specifications or requirements. Projects are run by project managers. So project management involves the application of the knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities aligning with the project requirements. Projects need to be controlled, and the most important thing to control are stakeholders. Stakeholders are very paramount in a project as they can determine the outcome of the project. If stakeholders are not satisfied or they are not kept communicated with, then there is a possibility that the project might end up being terminated or cancelled because they don't have a clear picture of what the project outcome will be like. And the next thing we need to be controlled is time. Time is of critical importance. As they say, time is money. So time activities need to be controlled time-wise, because if activities overlap on time, there will be a trickle-down effect on the other activities, and that will cause the project to be prolonged, and it can even end up with costs spiraling out of control, and then there will be war with the stakeholders, and it can result in lawsuits. So we don't need that in project management. The next thing we need to be controlled is the resources and usages. We need to control the usages of especially resources, because otherwise, if we can't control the resources, that means that the project is going to be more expensive, and we are going to waste more time looking for replacements and all the other stuff. The other thing we need to control is risk. We need to keep a risk assessment register, and we need to identify the opportunities and threats associated with the project. Because if we can't if we can't identify the risks and opportunities, then it means it will be a difficult task for the manager to align some of the specific requirements or planning so that they can cater for any risk which can arise during the project. Let's take for an example, like building a house. If you are building a house and you can't focus, maybe if it's going to rain and then you go on to put a roof, that's a risk which you can anticipate. So you wouldn't like to put the roof when it clearly shows that it's going to rain. So it needs to be done in a timely manner. Every project goes through certain phases, and all projects are identical phases. We have to start with the project initiation, where you design the project charter, and then we have to come to the planning stage, where you design your Gantt. Every project goes through certain phases, and all projects are identical phases. We have to start with the project initiation, where you design the project charter, and then we have to come to the planning stage, where you design your Gantt charts, you design your communication channels, and then we have come to the execution stage, where you actually go and do the work, and then you come to the control stage, where it involves the inspection, the assurance, and that means you are now looking at the deliverables. And then you come to the completion stage, where you close the project, and then you hand it over to whoever was initially responsible for that project to be implemented. And all these projects, they are related to two main frameworks. And these frameworks are the PMBOK and the Prince2. The PMBOK is the American internationally recognized standard which provides guidelines on the methodologies, procedures, and roles which are supposed to be applied in delivering projects. And the Prince2 is the British internationally recognized standard which provides guidelines on the roles, responsibilities, organizing, and change management in projects in a controlled environment. These two frameworks, they provide the approaches to project management, and most of the approaches which are known as the Mailer's 4D model, the waterfall approach, the agile approach, the Kanban, and project life cycle. So today I'm going to talk about the waterfall approach, the agile approach, and the lean approach model. First of all, I'd like to talk about the waterfall approach. This is a 6-stage linear software development approach which emphasizes on the fact that you can't proceed to the next phase unless the previous stage has been completed. And this is quite suitable and appropriate for construction projects like building a bridge or building a house. The fact with waterfall approach is that it gives a very clear picture of the end product, and it is clear objectives on how you are going to complete the project with a clear activity objectives and direction. And it is a very easy way to manage projects, but it is also complicated in that if it's very difficult for large projects, because you end up with lots of activities to be done. And the disadvantage with the waterfall model is that you can't go back once you have done a phase and you've done it wrong. You have to restart all over again. Let's say, for example, you're building a house and you put concrete, and that concrete, you put it the wrong way. There's no way you are going to continue building that house. You have to take the concrete out and you have to restart afresh again. And the agile approach is a continuous approach which is mainly used for software development like websites or payroll systems, where it's very flexible and you can make adjustments. And this approach is quite suitable that it meets the customer requirements, because customers can come during the different phases of the project course and they can demand to make some changes. So this approach allows for that flexibility to accommodate the customer requirements. The lean approach is an approach which was developed by the Toyota company in Japan, and it focuses on minimizing waste and maximizing value. And this is of greater benefit to the customer. And the lean approach, it uses a just-in-time principle or Kanban principle, where inventory is only delivered when it is required. So that means there is no wastage on space, storing materials or warehouses, or making people, paying people who are doing nothing or idle and just loafing about. So this is quite a very effective way of cutting waste. The only disadvantage with the lean approach is that if changes with the constant changes within the approach itself, that means it has to be always be constantly reviewed every time with the stakeholders. And the next thing I'm going to talk about are the techniques which are employed in project management. And there are several techniques which are employed in project management. And the most commonly known is the Gantt chart. And critical path method, work breakdown structure, activity on arrow diagrams, and activity on node diagrams. But today I'm going to talk about the Gantt chart and the work breakdown structure and critical path method. The Gantt chart is one of the most commonly used tools by project managers, because a Gantt chart gives a clear and visible, colorful way of identifying activities, and within they show the start date, the end date. They show the name of the person doing the activities. So it's quite clear, a clear way used by project managers. And the Gantt chart, the disadvantage of the Gantt chart is that the bars or the bar graph, they don't really show the resource allocation. That's one of the disadvantages with the Gantt chart. But overall, it's a very effective way of project management. And the critical path method, it identifies the longest activity to be done, and also identifies the shortest activities to be done. So the advantage with the critical path method, it allows for slack time, where project managers can identify and allocate the time activities which cannot be extended without affecting the other activities, and then they can make appropriate plans to accommodate those activities which might take longer, and allocate the activities which take shorter to the activities which are more critical, or the milestones. And the work breakdown structure is quite important in examples like wedding, where there's several activities to be done, and it involves breaking down work into smaller and smaller units to be managed by individuals or smaller groups. And this is a good way of creating Gantt charts, because at least you can identify each activity to each individual task. And it's quite an important way to apply in project management. To conclude, I would like to say that most projects are not the same, so project managers, they should identify projects, approaches and techniques which suit their project. And they can even use one or two approaches, or maybe 2 or 3 techniques, so that they can achieve their desired results or objectives. So on that note, thank you very much for listening.